You might remember some of these interesting marketing phrases and buzzwords that got kids into colorful arguments on the playground. Phrases like blast processing, whatever that is, Genesis does, now you're playing with power, welcome to the next level. These were the 16-bit wars, a time when many players were either in the Sega camp or the Nintendo camp, with each company trying to make perfect little soldiers out of us.
Look at this guy here taunting Michael with the pool cue. You know he's bad and he's after him. You can't do that on an 8-bit system.
With both the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo selling like hotcakes, each company wanted to try a few new things to push sales even further than they were, hopefully leaving their competition in the dust. Nintendo didn't go too crazy with this idea, only releasing stateside at least the Super Game Boy for the SNES. Sega, on the other hand, tried a lot of different things. You've probably heard about the mushroom-shaped disappointment that was the Sega 32X, and apart from 2 or 3 games, that thing isn't worth much at all. But Sega also had the Sega Channel, a really cool service that allowed players to download games for play well before broadband connections were widely available. But in the early 90s, Sega released an attachment for the Genesis that took advantage of a cheap format with far more storage capacity than the cartridges currently in use, the Sega CD.
You still don't have a Sega CD? What are you waiting for, Nintendo to make one? You have seen the games, right? Wrong answer, man. Show 'em!
The Sega CD gets a lot of flack these days because of the less than stellar full motion video games. However, the Sega CD could only show about 64 colors at once, and the processor, while pretty good, really wasn't suited for video. However, the large amount of memory available for the CD was easily crammed with video, and that's what we got because developers didn't know what else to do with it. The CD medium, at least at this time in the early 90s, may not have been the game changer for the industry that Sega had hoped for, but it was the home for some truly amazing games for the time. Several of them actually being some of my personal favorites. We'll be talking about some of them in the next few videos, but I thought we could start off nice and simple with everyone's favorite chili dog connoisseur, Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic CD is one of the Blue Blur's best adventures. While Sonic 3 Knuckles might be the superior game with its long and intricate levels and superb graphics and music, Sonic CD offered an experience unlike any other Sonic game. I don't know a single person who doesn't like Sonic CD. Once every year, Little Planet appears over Never Lake. Little Planet's surface moves freely through time where a scenario and the landscape could change in the blink of an eye. It's also the home to the legendary Time Stones, precious gems that grant their owner the ability to travel through time much like the surface does, regardless of where they are. Dr. Robotnik, being the evil son of a gun that he is, decides he wants to turn Little Planet into his personal fortress and capture the Time Stones for himself. What he didn't count on was a certain blue rodent taking a vacation to see the time-shifting planet. Sonic controls much like you'd expect if you've played the other games in the series. He zips along at a decent pace, he can curl up into a ball to smash badniks, and can even charge up a spin dash for a speedy assault. But he's got a new move that's very useful and really cool to see. The Super Peel-Out, sometimes known as the Figure 8. Holding up instead of down like you would for the common spin dash has Sonic run in place. Releasing the buttons allows Sonic to take off at his max speed, but it does leave him open to attack from Robotnik's robots. Of course, you can just tap the down button to have Sonic curl up and circumvent that disadvantage. It's a cool move that really hasn't been used much since Sonic's Compact Disc Adventure. Since Sonic is assaulting Robotnik's time-traveling fortress on Little Planet, he's able to use the time-traveling properties of the surface. After going fast enough for a short while, Sonic will burn rubber right through time. Insert a Back to the Future reference here. In the past, Little Planet shows no real sign of Robotnik's influence, with some levels looking overgrown or prehistoric, some even showing their construction. The future, on the other hand, is riddled with Robotnik's factories and their pollution. This creates a desolate, horrid landscape where technology has overtaken nature. His robots have been left for years, some of them looking decrepit and run down, and some completely defenseless. The layout of all the levels changes just a little bit with each time zone, adding some nice variety to each level. But speeding through time isn't just a gimmick to show off the CD technology or a few color palette swaps. It's actually crucial to Sonic's quest to stop the Good Doctor. The egg-shaped bastard has deposited his robots with new machines to generate them in the past, ensuring his rule in the future. Destroying these machines in the past, which are usually out of the way, is essential to thwarting Robotnik's plans. With the Doctor's machines destroyed in the past, the future transforms, showing a more perfect harmony with nature and technology, free of badniks and traps. This is the future you want for all the zones, as it is the only way to achieve the game's good ending. I like this little mechanic because it gives you a reason to explore and find these machines in the past, rather than the game just being about clearing the stages. It's subtle too. You're not forced by any means to make the future for your Robotnik's influence. You can just kick his butt 9 ways to Sunday and be happy with that if that's what you're into. Sonic may be on vacation, but unfortunately he's got some unwanted baggage tagging along. Amy Rose, a pink-colored female hedgehog, has been reading tarot cards, I guess, and has followed Sonic to Never Lake, claiming she was destined to meet her hero. She's really just a kid who proclaims herself as Sonic's girlfriend. Honestly, it's really just a harmless affection, and Sonic's kind of indifferent to her, ignoring her for the most part. But eventually, Amy gets herself into some real trouble pretty early in the game. A metallic Sonic doppelganger decides to kidnap her, forcing Sonic to do more than just destroy Robotnik's fortress. Now he's on a rescue mission. Thus enters, in my mind, Sonic's greatest rival, Metal Sonic. Different than the Sonic-like robots from other games, Metal Sonic is the most recurring villain in the series, apart from the Good Doctor himself. Metal Sonic's been featured in cartoons, the comics, and he's even appeared in the OVA Sonic movie from the mid-90s, that being my personal favorite appearance of his.
You might know everything I'm going to do, but that's not going to help you, since I know everything you're going to do! Strange, isn't it?
Sonic speeds through some great zones in Sonic CD, though they're not the best in the series, I'll admit that. With a great introduction round in Palm Tree Panic, the annoying and rather busy Collision Chaos, to the beautiful Quartz Quadrant, Sonic CD zones are varied and pretty fun. Except for Tidal Tempest, the water level, which is better than the one from the first Sonic game, but really not all that different. Much like the Sonic games on the Genesis, each round features different gimmicks apart from time travel to set themselves apart from each other. Tidal Tempest has all the water, Wacky Workbench has the bouncy floor, and Collision Chaos is this game's casino level, which are honestly my least favorite levels in any Sonic game. While the zones are pretty cool, the game itself isn't that hard. Really, finding the robot generators will take the majority of your time. The overall stage design doesn't lend itself to crazy platforming or anything like that, and the badniks are sometimes more annoying than dangerous. The last few levels get a little crazy, but they're not as hard as I remember Scrap Brain Zone being from the first game, for example. Boss battles, on the other hand, are a little bit better on Sonic CD, though that doesn't exactly make them more difficult. Boss battles in Sonic CD include a nod to Sonic Spinball, a drilling robot, and even an endurance contest between Sonic and one of Robotnik's machines. The bosses are varied in the size and the methods used to defeat them, which is something you've come to expect from the Sonic games of yore. The confrontation with Metal Sonic at the end of Stardust Speedway I don't really consider a good boss battle though. It's fun, yeah, but all you do is race him with Robotnik following you with a beam that will kill the slower of the two hedgehogs. Metal Sonic tries to trip you up a little bit and make the race a little bit more difficult, but once you get used to some of his attacks, you'll get to the end of the track and watch the Doctor toast his most powerful creation. It was really cool to see this battle recreated in Sonic Generations, with more of a battle in mind and less of a race. The music in Sonic CD benefits from the Sega CD hardware as well, allowing CD quality audio to be used for each stage, resulting in catchy tunes that might not be as iconic as, say, Green Hill Zone's theme, but certainly sound very nice. And that's regardless of which region's soundtrack you use. The HD version, which I've been using for the footage here, does allow you to switch between them, which is a fantastic feature. Destroying the robot generators isn't the only thing Sonic needs to do to put a stop to Robotnik's plans. He's also after the Time Stones, which serve as this game's Chaos Emeralds. Like most of the early Sonic games, collecting a certain amount of rings will allow you to enter a special stage, in Sonic CD's case by jumping through a giant ring at the end of the levels. This takes you to the only good special stage in the entire series in my opinion. In these 3D levels that show off the Sega CD's power, Sonic moves in all directions and must destroy a certain amount of UFOs. Doing so within the time limit will grant Sonic a Time Stone. Some UFOs give ring bonuses or speed shoe power-ups that grant Sonic the ability to move a little bit quicker to the next UFO. Landing in the water will make the timer shoot down very quickly, so running around hoping to smash a few spaceships randomly just won't work in this. You actually need to focus on these special stages a lot more than you would think. While these special stages are actually rather difficult, they're very fun, and I actually found myself looking forward and excited to see how the layout and the backgrounds would change with the next special stage. I never really felt that way with any of the other special stages in the series. Sonic CD is one heck of a fun time, though a little bit short and a little bit too easy for veteran Sonic fans. Sonic 3 and Knuckles might be a longer, better game, but Sonic CD offers mechanics allowing the game to stand apart from the other Genesis-era Sonic affairs. If you have a Steam account or various newfangled consoles, you should check out Sonic CD in HD. But if you've got a Sega CD laying around, Sonic CD can be found very cheaply. Plus, there's a plethora of excellent games available for it that are well worth checking out. Thanks for watching this discussion on Sonic CD. If you've enjoyed this review, or even if you didn't, please leave your feedback in the comment section below. While you're at it, here's my last 2 videos for you to check out. Lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to 3 very entertaining people that you should check out. Ivy Musical, Tentacle Touchy, and Dog and Game have some great thoughts on games you should go check out. Give them a click, and I'll see you next time.
From disaster, spinning through a world in motion.